Hi, today I will be showing you my art portfolio, my fine art portfolio. I just finished year one of my fine art studies, and I'll be going into year two in a couple of months. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting on where I started this year and where I am now. And for the new school year, I know the applications are probably already over, but I just thought it'd be fun to show you my portfolio and to kind of talk about why I included certain pieces or what I was hoping they would signify to the committee, and maybe it will be helpful for anyone looking to apply to art school. Keep in mind, if that's the purpose that you're here for, that I do go to art school in the Netherlands. So keep that in mind, and let's get into it. So I applied in 2023. It was barely 2023. So I my earliest piece is this one from 2021. Um, it's the first piece in my portfolio. It's just some figure drawings. I just included this to show some technical skill. They're not the greatest figure drawings, like looking back, but I also was going for a lot of variety, which you'll probably hear me say a lot in this video, of media, because I'm primarily or I was definitely a 2D artist. I was always drawing and painting and etc. So I tried to, because I didn't have much variety in my work, sculpture wise, or I mean, I do have a lot of sculptures that I made specifically for this portfolio, but because I didn't have video or installation or anything like that, I tried to bring the variety mainly into the medium I was using. So I have markers, I have oil pastels, I have all different types of paint, which is why I chose this piece with the markers. It's from 2021. Then the next one is this one. It's a collage I made. It's called Death in Winter. I included this because I don't have any other collages, and I wanted to show kind of a sort of feeling for aesthetic and feeling for vibe, and basically showing that I know what goes well together, which I think is an important aspect in an artist. And also because the flower you see there is a real wildflower, and I really wanted to, at the time I really wanted to drive it home, that I work with nature a lot, which is funny because I guess I worked with nature a lot this year, but not as much as I thought I would. But I thought that was gonna be like my thing that I was known for, which is kind of funny now looking back. But yeah, now we're getting to my first sculpture in my portfolio, which is this one. It's called Skin. It's also from 2021. It consists of materials: a plastic bottle, candle wax that is on the cap there, herbs around the paper. On the inside is oil, water, and milk. So I kind of made this with skin in mind. So that's why I chose oil, water, and milk, because they will all sit on top of one another, kind of, as in the layers of skin. There honestly wasn't much of a specific thought behind this. I just wanted to try to make something with this bottle I had, and I wasn't really aiming for any particular art piece back here. I just kind of made it, and then looking back, I just happened to be like, oh, that's kind of sick. So I included it in my portfolio. It happens sometimes. I feel like a lot of art portfolios are like, so everything has to be intentional, or everything has to be like this hyper specific like artwork. But sometimes you just make something cool and you want to show it off. Definitely don't make all of your portfolio like that, but I think part of it is definitely can just be cool things. The next piece is this rabbit plushie hybrid. I made this from by combining two plushies I found at the thrift store together. I do think this piece made me look a lot better at sewing than I actually am, because it definitely looked like I made this from scratch, which is not true, but that's fine. I included this because fiber arts are kind of neglected, I feel. Even at school now, I feel like fiber arts are very neglected. So it's, again, variety, a good point. And also because I'm really into creatures and cryptids and stuff like that. And I wanted to, that's not very apparent in my 2D art, in my paintings and stuff. But in my sculpture, especially this year, this school year, it's become very apparent that I want to make creatures. So that's really cool to look back on and see that I was already doing that. Still in 2021, and we're now getting to some larger paintings and pieces. This is the first sketch I included. I think it's definitely a great idea to send any or include any preparatory work you do for any painting or any piece in your portfolio. I made this little drawing, little painting before I actually made the actual drawing, which is this one, or actual painting, which is this one. It just shows that you're thinking ahead about what you're making and that you're planning and that you don't just throw something on the page, you know. It just looks a little more detail oriented and a little more organized. Even if you're not an organized person, because I'm not by any means an organized person, but this really helped me. About this painting itself, it's called Hallucination. I made it in like a time where I was hallucinating. I don't know, it's pretty important to me. I do really like how it looks, but I don't have much else. I just mainly included it for technical skills because I really like the like face area and the arm. I think it looks cool. Now this one's actually a copy. Again, preparatory sketch, including some text that I wrote where I was basically just discussing. It kind of shows my thought process, which is nice for them to read as well if they can read my terrible handwriting. But I was like writing down pros and cons of what to include, what not to include. I think that's interesting. I think they like reading that. And then this is the actual painting. It's an oil painting. The last one was acrylic painting for variety. Yeah, this is a copy of Zetterstrand. Of Christopher Zetterstrand, I don't know. Who is the painting is called The Void. He is the Minecraft painting guy. Those works, the Minecraft paintings are actually based on real life paintings. This one's called The Void, and I made a copy of it. That's all there is to it. I just thought it was an interesting work, and copying it made me a little bit better at oil painting, though I really don't like this piece. But that's also why I included it. You shouldn't just include stuff that you like. Like, it's great to show pieces that maybe aren't as strong, but you tried something new, for example. And that's what I was trying to do here. Now we have a spread here. I'm not sure why. I don't think this is an actual spread. I just think I glued these two images together for some reason, which I don't know why I did that, but the one on the left I included for the wires because I don't know, I thought that might be interesting. I don't know if I would include this piece today, to be honest, if I was making a portfolio, but it's okay. I think it's kind of weak, but maybe that's good because, like I just said, weak pieces can be good sometimes. I don't know. And then the one on the right is a Alocasia sabrina dried houseplant, because again, I was big into nature, that I drew over and painted over, etc, etc. I do kind of like how this looks, but it doesn't really have a lot of value, maybe. Yeah. Now we're in 2022, so this is like stuff that I started making specifically for my portfolio. So it's a lot more thematically connected. It's a lot more polished, I would say. It's a lot more finished works. It's a lot more variety in the medium sense, because up until now it's been I had to try really hard to sift through my work to find anything other than paintings and drawings. And now we'll see a little more collage. We'll see a little more like actual sculptures that I actually tried for. Starting with this is called Summer Tears. It's from a series called Fragile. I used dried poppy leaves, acrylics, masking tape, and cotton on paper. I actually really like this piece still. It has no significance whatsoever, meaning wise. It's just, I don't know, the aesthetics are really nice. This is also from Fragile, the series. It's called Let Me Be. This is a Alocasia cobrea red secret leaf. I used acrylics, masking tape, and an orchid flower print on paper. I was really imprinting orchids at one point. You'll see another piece in a second that has an orchid print on it, or it's mainly just orchid print, I think. But again, the aesthetics here are very nice. I either don't remember the meaning behind this series, or there was none. I'm not quite sure, but I think it looks nice, and I also really like. This is what I mean by thematically and aesthetically. It's all a little bit more polished. Is that like there's series here, there's the theme of nature here. It all comes together a little bit more, which I think is nice growth versus the first part of my portfolio, which was just a bunch of loose pieces with uh no real like threat, no real connection between them all. Okay, this is a series I do remember. It's called Everything. The series is called Everything, and this piece is called Beginning. If you can't read, it says "I miss you," and if I write this down, do you know what it means? This is kind of a personal series, so I'm not getting into the deep meaning of it, but it's about someone that maybe says enough. Yeah, I was going through a lot. I was going through a lot, and I made this series. This is the first one, and then here I have the second one. This is the next one. It's called Alone. Alone I will explode tonight on my mattress. Again, the meaning's a little bit too much for me to get into now, but I think, I think that the writing and like the images themselves aren't really that special, but I think the writing really adds to it, which is like writing is something you'll see very often in my work starting kind of in 2022, and still to this day you see very often in my work. So this is kind of where that sort of started, which is interesting to see the origins of that. This is a watercolor piece. It's called Two-Headed Calf. It's based on the poem by Laura Gilpin. Good poem, you should read it. Just included this because it's watercolor, and I hate doing watercolor, but I wanted some variety in painting mediums. Now here we have another one of those double pages that aren't really related. The left one is from a series called The Cold. The piece itself is called Snow. It's acrylic on paper. I just started doing these landscapes in this period, and I hadn't really shown that off yet. I did a lot of landscapes, so I wanted to kind of show a variety in subject, because so far it's been pretty human focused. Just like the image next to it, I believe it's just called it's called Self Portrait. It's oil pastel on paper. Yeah, I was very into anatomy at the human body, and I still am. I think it's super interesting to paint and to write about and to think about. So that was definitely a big part of my portfolio. So I was trying to combat that by starting to make all these landscape pieces. I'm not sure how many there are in here. I think a couple for sure. The next one is also from the series The Cold. It's another landscape piece. Like I just said, I was really trying to show that I had more in my repertoire than just portraits, which we haven't actually seen a lot of portraits, but I used to do a lot of portraits, so I wanted to kind of shy away from that. Now I don't have names for these ones, unfortunately. They've been lost to time. But the left one is just an acrylic piece I quickly did. I was just trying to show some more sketches with painting. And this was, I think, a good example of that. And the right one was a marker piece I did just for the sake of including a marker piece, and also because I liked this piece and it fit the rest of my portfolio pretty nicely. Another self-portrait, or that's the title at least, another marker portrait. Again, I was really into anatomy. I feel like this one maybe or the other self-portrait with anatomy could have maybe been swapped out for something else to show even more variety looking back, but I just really like these two pieces and I really wanted to include them at the time, so that's fine. An untitled piece. These are the orchids I was referring to. I was printing with a lot of leaves at the time, and I had these full orchid flowers that I had fully dried that I then printed, which gave this kind of cool effect, if I do say so myself. So I included that because printmaking is pretty significant. I think has been pretty significant this year at school, but isn't something you do very easily at home. So I included it. Then this is a preparatory sketch for a sculpture. We're getting into the sculptures now. A sculpture called The Creature. I never finished this sculpture, unfortunately, because I just couldn't. Here is like a in between photo. I'm not sure what this was meant to be. I think it was going to be a sort of, well, a creature of some sorts that was kind of like a mass of flesh and meat and just grows. But I don't think I had the materials or knowledge on how to make it at the time. I feel like I could make it now, which might be interesting to explore, but it shows that I tried. Another painting. This one I cannot say the title on YouTube, unfortunately, because I can't say the title of it on YouTube. It's also from the series The Cold. We can just call it I Need to Go to the Beach. I really like the atmosphere in this one. I think atmosphere is really big in my work, which is why I included this, because I wanted to show that I could continuously bring a certain vibe or a certain mood to my work, which I think I did pretty well. I do think this picture is kind of like bad quality, and I could have done way better. This one's called Train Station. It's just an oil pastel piece, but I really liked it. I really like the color palette and the like figure. I don't know. I thought it was nicely done. Another sculpture. This one's called My Brain. I made this in a terrible mental breakdown. um, yeah, not much to say about it. I do again. I was really driving home the I work with nature thing, so I started including a lot of taxidermy in my work, which is actually something I've continued to do this year as well. I've been doing a lot with taxidermy in my sculptures, so that's really interesting to see that I did in fact continue that trend. This is another example of a sculpture with taxidermy. It's called Nature's Knife. I actually was so proud of this piece, and I feel like I'm the only one who cares this much about it. Um, but the idea behind it was that everything in this sculpture once had a purpose, and it is now, and it died, but it is now fulfilling that purpose again. So the antler is defending, the bone is holding together, and the wood is standing tall, or providing like grip, like rooting. So I really like this piece. I carved the wood myself. I didn't clean the bone myself, unfortunately, but yeah, I was really proud of this, and I was very excited to include it. This one's called Circle of Life, and you might be asking, what am I looking at? Those are shark and manta ray egg sacs, which you can sometimes find on the beach. They're very cool, and I was just okay. The meaning is something to do with the circle of life, and these egg sacs used to hold life and used to birth and are now empty, but maybe if I put them in a circle, they'll become full again. I don't know. I don't really remember. This was 2 years ago, so I don't remember everything. Um, but I do remember that this piece was well liked when I presented it. And here we have the prep work for The Stranger, which is not very interesting, and then The Stranger itself, which is unfinished. I didn't have the money to finish this piece, and I had to throw it away, or at least take it apart, which is very sad. But I wanted to completely fill this guy with paper and scrap, but I just didn't have the time or resources to do so. It was going to it's life sized, by the way, if you can't tell. It was about as tall, like I don't know. I think it came to my chest, so it was pretty tall. But I couldn't find more of the material I was making out of, and it was super expensive, and I just couldn't finish it. So that's sad. But I still included it because I was like, yeah, I'm still working on this, etc., etc. And they were like, oh, cool, cool. But yeah, I couldn't finish it. Still included it. They did like it. They especially like the bigger work, because I feel like a lot of people are scared to work big or it's inconvenient. So anytime someone does work big, it's like a plus. So I definitely score some points. And now we're actually at the last piece in my portfolio, which is this acrylic painting, "The Ocean Washed Open Your Grave." It's called "The Beach." This is just a nice painting. I just wanted to end on like a nice note with a painting that I liked, that I had done, for all the ones that I didn't like. Yeah, that's basically it. Nothing significant here. I just, the beach has been like a general theme in my portfolio and in my general artwork. I'm not entirely sure why, to be honest. Maybe it's all the Car Seat Headrest I've been listening to. Maybe it's just significant to me. It's just a place I like to be. It's yeah. I just love the beach, so it's in my work a lot. That was my portfolio. Look, it's interesting to me to look back and see everything that 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 I've continued doing. It's quite more than I thought it would be. I didn't think my work would still be so similar. In ways it's definitely not similar. In other ways it definitely is. I'm not sure if that's like a good thing or a bad thing necessarily. Sorry, Vinny wants to say hello. But it's given me a lot to think about, especially considering what kind of route I want to go into next year and what I want to continue working on and what I maybe want to leave behind. So yeah, it's given me a lot to think about. I hope you like this. I hope it gave you some insight into what I do and how I work, and I mean how I used to work primarily, maybe not how I work anymore, but some insight in my work. And thank you for watching.